The Amish have a lot of rules on the clothes that they wear. When I was growing up, my mom only allowed me to wear a small percentage of the fabrics that were in the Amish fabric store. We were not allowed to buy it anywhere else. I know once in a while there was some people in my community that went to a different community to buy some of their dresses just because they were allowed to wear more than what I was allowed to. But there was a lot, like I said, in the Amish fabric stores that I was not allowed to wear either. So one word that you have to become familiar with first is fancy. So I would have not been allowed to wear a lot of dresses because they were too fancy. That would mean like they were too worldly. My mom thought they were not Amish enough. So I want to show you a whole bunch of dresses, the fabrics and colors, and talk about each one of them just to give you more of an idea. For example, this dress right here, you can see the pattern is barely visible, but you can still see it has a small pattern. Well, this color, most of the Amish would have a color like this because it's very popular. And the fabric, there's nothing wrong with this fabric. Most people, even the stricter ones in my community, would be allowed to have this fabric as well. Now, this color would be pretty much accepted for most people, but I know my mom would not wear it, and some of the other stricter people would not wear it either just for the color. But as far as the fabric, most of the time this one would be totally fine. My mom would only wear certain colors in this fabric though. Like there's some lighter colors that you can see the pattern better and it would be a little more fancy. This color is more of a pinkish shade. So it's not pink, but the color is called Dusty Rose. And I was not allowed to wear a color like this until I started Rumspringa at the age of 17. And even then, my mom didn't really like it, but she still was okay with it. So this color is definitely a little more fancy. Now I know there's a lot of married women that would wear these, even some that are like grandmas, but it all depends. My mom did not allow me to wear this when I was growing up. And as far as the fabric, this is more of a simpler, plainer fabric. Now, my mom would not wear this fabric. There is some lighter colors in this fabric that my mom would have made for my brothers, but I wouldn't have been allowed to wear it because it was too light. So we wouldn't have been allowed to wear dresses that are too light unless we had a slip underneath, and it's too much of a pain to wear a slip. Now, this color is more of a wine color, and my mom was not happy that I wanted to wear this type of dress because I loved this color, but she did allow me when I got a little bit older, like maybe not quite as bright as this one, but this I bought with my own money when I moved out of my parents' house. We were not allowed to wear any type of red, and if you're standing in the sunshine, it looks brighter than it looks right now. So this is definitely one that's more fancy. And there is a lot of the married women that would wear this color too. And this is what the fabric looks like up close. It's kind of like bigger squares. And my mom would not like this fabric either. She would say it's not Amish enough. Now this purple dress, I love purple. It's like my favorite color. So I was not allowed to wear a purple dress until, I don't know if I was ever allowed to. I was just allowed to have like a lavender color. And I bought this one with my own money too after I think I moved out of my parents' house when I bought this. There is a lot of people that are not allowed to wear purple in the Amish. It's like a 50-50. Some of them are allowed to, some of them are not. But I guess this would be considered a little more fancy because of the color. As far as the fabric, it's pretty plain. Like, it's plain enough. My mom, I could see her in maybe a certain color in this fabric. I love this bright blue color, and I would have been allowed to wear this blue, I think, when I was growing up. I'm not 100% sure, but usually bright blue is a lot more acceptable. Green and blue, even if they're brighter colors, usually it's a lot more acceptable than any other color. I could not see my mom wearing this color dress. It would be too bright for her. But I could see a lot of other married women that would wear this color dress. As far as the fabric, I would say the fabric is pushing it a little bit. It's a little more fancy just because of the pattern on it. It's different, and my mom was more okay with having a crinkled fabric like this than she was a fabric that had a pattern in it, like little squares. This color dress is really light, so I definitely would have wanted to wear a slip underneath, but it's still acceptable as long as you would do that. And the fabric is a little more patterny. See how you can see the pattern a little more? So my mom would have been a little bit iffy with this. This would be pushing it a tiny bit, but I think she would still be okay with this one. If it was any worse, then she would probably say something. Now this one I had to wear at my cousin's wedding. This is the color she chose. And I think most people, even the ones that are a little more stricter, like my parents, would have been okay with this material for the most part. And, you know, sometimes long sleeved and short sleeve matters as well. Because if you make it long sleeve, then that means you can wear it at church. You can only wear long sleeve at church. So the long sleeve dresses are supposed to be more plain because you're not supposed to go to church with a bright, fancy dress. This is a rust colored dress, and I actually really liked it when I was Amish. If you stood in the sun, it looked brighter. I don't think my dad liked it because of that. I think they thought that it was too fancy. The fabric was one of my absolute favorite fabrics in the Amish. It's so comfortable. And it's just like a crinkled and a tiny little pattern in it, but I was not allowed to wear it until I got a little bit older. There is a lot of people that wear this fabric, just not as many of the older people would. This light blue color is pretty much accepted probably by most people in our community. Because it's blue, it's a lot plainer, and this is a very common color, but the fabric is definitely a lot more fancy. So my mom did not like this dress because of the pattern. This color dress is very common in the Amish, and I had to wear this one for my brother's wedding. And I just want to show you guys a couple other things here. Any type of orange or like a peach color. I've seen people with curtains like this, and it is more fancy. I would not have been allowed to have a curtain like this. I've also seen some girls in Rumspringa when they're younger, before a member of the church, with a dress like this. Now you can see through it, so you have to be very careful. And also this would be good for a men's shirt. Otherwise, this is a very fancy color in the Amish. Now this one is a little different color, like a different shade of peachish. And there is some people that wear this color as well when they're in Rumspringa. Some of the married women, depends what fabric. This fabric is very plain, but I would not have been allowed to wear this color at all until I got a lot older. Blues and greens are very common in the Amish community, so everyone has a lot of blues and greens. And then there's a charcoal dress that I had. And this fabric is more fancy because you can see the pattern, but charcoal is a very common color as well because it's plain for men and women. And like I said, as far as pink, this would be a light pink, and this is a men's shirt. Most women are not allowed to wear pink at all. Maybe, like I said, the dusty pink and certain shades when they are in Rumspringa. And then we have lavender as well. This is actually a long-sleeved dress, so I did wear it to church, but there is a lot of churches that don't allow you to wear any kind of purple or lavender at church. Our church didn't have that rule, I don't believe. Maybe if you were a member of the church, depending what shade it would be or what fabric, they would say something. But I was not a member of the church yet, and I did wear this one sometimes at church. And then this is just a little girl's dress that I made. It's so cute. And this is obviously yellow. Yellow would be allowed for the men's shirts, and I did have curtains with this color when I got older. I was not allowed to have any curtains that were yellow until I was in Rumspringa, maybe even like 18 or 19 years old, before my mom finally allowed me to have yellow curtains, and it had to be one that was very, very light. So if you are hanging this up, it almost looks like it's cream colored instead of yellow. Yellow is once in a while worn by the girls in Rumspringa. Depends what material and what shade of yellow. Otherwise, I don't think I've ever seen like married women wear yellow. It's definitely a lot more fancy. And then black. This was my black dress. You can see the fabric. It's a little crinkled. Black dresses are for when someone dies. When an Amish woman dies, she has to wear a black dress, so she always has to have one on hand at all times. And you're supposed to have a black dress that's very plain. This one is a lot more fancy just because the black dress that you have has to be a lot more plainer, because they think it has to be plainer for if you would die, then you have to have a very plain dress on, and they wear black. So it's very complicated. Sometimes my mom couldn't make up her mind if she allowed me to have a dress or not, and I didn't want the dresses that she wanted me to wear because they were just too plain. So it really depends on your parents, and the parents have to have standards too because the church has standards. So depending how lenient your parents are, then they might allow you to wear a lot more fabrics when you're in Rumspringa as well. But like I said, my parents did not allow me to have a lot of the fabrics that were in the Amish fabric stores, only certain ones.